somebody has had a breakthrough regarding you and the potential of a connection. This is giving secret admirer vibes. This tower energy is somebody that has almost been kind of like gearing up, building their confidence, kind of working up the courage, working up the nerve to approach you. It could be somebody that there's kind of like a mutual crush or a mutual fascination. There's been a lot of sexual tension, a lot of chemistry in the air. The idea of who's going to say something first, who's going to put themselves out there first. And this is the energy of somebody that's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to say something. And I'm hearing hi, and it feels like that even for this person is like a tower moment. That first word that they say to you is kind of like they've built it up to be like more of a moment than it probably will be, but this definitely kind of brings it to mind the idea of somebody that is very certain about like, okay, I'm just going to put myself out there. I'm going to see what happens. They're not bringing in a nonchalant energy. This is somebody that is willing to go the distance in order to, put the best foot forward with you, to get to know you. This is somebody, it feels like, that is very enthusiastic about wanting to communicate with you. They're not going to want to play hard to get. They're not coming forth wanting to play mind games. There's a sense of like, okay, there's been enough of this sort of like watching and waiting energy. I'm going to take action. I'm going to step forward. It may be something that could be very surprising for you. And it feels like for some of you, this is almost like you're right on the brink of saying something like, okay, this has kind of gone on long enough. This sort of like mutual crush, and we keep side-eyeing one another, and there's all this kind of innuendo and suggestion. So if they're not going to do something, I'm going to do something. And it's like right in the nick of time, right at the last moment, this person kind of like, they're the one that breaks the silence. They're the one that comes forth. They're the one that expresses that kind of like truth, or makes that introduction. Or even if this is somebody that you're like friends with, this is crossing that threshold into more of that spicy territory, more of that romantic territory, something where it feels like there's been a lot of tension in the air between the two of you. If this is something where it's not someone that has approached you yet, this could just be sort of like you're feeling that tension of like, okay, I can feel somebody's watching, I can feel somebody's lurking. I don't know, is it a past person trying to come back in? Is this a new person? Like, what is this all about? And this is given to mind the idea of sort of like breaking free of an old foundation. For like a small percentage of you, this is somebody from the past reemerging, wanting to try again, wanting to start over. But it's the idea of kind of like building beyond past experiences, which to me sort of suggests this is a new energy. It almost might be a sigh of relief when this person kind of comes out of the shadows and you're like, okay, so this wasn't the past person that I've had to like, close the door to multiple times, or we had this round and round and finally it just gave up. It's a sense of almost like a relief and a new energy. If it is a past person, for a lot of you that sort of like small likelihood applies to, this will be somebody that does have something new to say, something, you're like, okay, I'll hear you out. And for, another portion of you, it's like, yeah, same old story. I'm just going to keep pushing forward. But for the vast majority of you, this is something that kind of like signals a new era as far as romance is concerned, a new suitor, a new person to get to know, to start talking to. Yeah, and we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So it feels like this is a connection where this person, again, has kind of like, they built all this pressure. They've been building their courage. They've been working up the nerve. They got a lot to say. They got a lot of plans for kind of like what will happen in this dynamic. There's a sense of like, I don't just want to have like one awkward conversation, then we go our own ways. Like, even if there's some sort of awkwardness between the two of you, because they might not even know, like, are you single? Are you available? Am I your type? Like, I, don't even know you well. You're the stranger, in the crowded room, or just somebody that I've noticed online, somebody that I've seen around. And so it's really starting from scratch. That there's a sense of like they're trying to sort of tell themselves, like, don't get discouraged if it doesn't really go well the first time. Don't get discouraged if there's a bit of awkwardness. Don't get discouraged if this person is like guarded. Like, this is somebody that kind of wants to have longevity in terms of like effort. Not like they want to pester you or anything, but just sort of like, okay, I'm going to understand that we got to take this one step at a time, but I'm very sort of enthusiastic or optimistic about what can happen in the future here. If this is somebody that, you know, has been in your surroundings, it's been this kind of like mutual crush sort of energy, or like a friend that is getting ready to express their feelings. They've thought long and hard about this, and there's kind of like, okay, there's no sense in pretending that we both don't understand or we both can't feel or sense. There's something more than meets the eye going on here. So I'm just going to say something. I'm just going to do something. I'm going to take the lead in this situation, and we'll see what happens. So it feels like it's somebody that wants to, you know, kind of establish like a regular pattern of communication between the two of you, if that's not already something that's in the mix. If this is something where, you know, it's kind of like they're coming to ask you out, you know, on a date, then it feels like that's going to be something that would happen very quickly. Sort of like, you want to go do something this weekend, you want to go do something next week, not just kind of like, okay, let's tiptoe around this, and maybe in a couple months something will happen, or, you know, we'll sort of just tease at this. There's a sense of this person is very determined. They almost feel like luck is on their side. So it feels like they have asked for some kind of signs or guidance from spirit, like, tell me that it's right to move forward. You know, show me a sign that I'm not just going to kind of put myself out there and crash and burn. And so they feel satisfied with what they have received in terms of that confirmation, in terms of those, you know, little nudges back from spirit, or in whatever way they've sort of, you know, kind of made that request of the universe. It's come back in a way that it's a green light in this situation of like, okay, you know, put yourself out there. You never know what will happen. And so they're coming forth not with the sense of like leading with a lot of guardedness, leading with a lot of woundedness. They might actually come forth more kind of like open and friendly than they normally are as a person. And this could have to do with some degree of nervousness, kind of like they have to just push themselves forward towards you. There's a sense of, you know, they find you very attractive, or, you know, if it's somebody that you've already kind of like spoken to, or like a friend situation, or like a mutual kind of crush, you know, they like what they know about you so far. And so pushing forth into that kind of romantic exploration, that romantic territory, there's a sense like, okay, this is new between the two of us. I don't know how this is going to go, but in order to have the best result, I got to hope for the best. I can't bring in that sort of doom and gloom attitude and expect that it's going to go well. So it feels like, you know, expect this person to be very enthusiastic. If they're asking you out on a date, it's like they're going to pay for something. They're going to treat you. This isn't like, okay, let's go halvesies and kind of just go hang out in that sense. You know, things like that may come in and factor in later in your interactions with them. You know, if it goes to that level, if it becomes something between the two of you. But this is somebody that really wants to take you out and show you a good time, take you out and show you that they can have fun. So that's relevant for someone. This is like a coworker. This may be somebody who's kind of quiet, you know, kind of nerdy, kind of reserved. And so there's a whole like side of them that they want to show you that is like outside of the office, that is less sort of button up, or less kind of serious. And so it's like, okay, if we're going to take things to this next level, let's go explore it that way. Let me show you this side of myself that, you know, people in kind of the ordinary reality, or the way in which you typically are interacting with me, they don't see that side of me. Let me show you that I can have fun. Let me show you that, you know, I can be a gentleman. Let me show you that, you know, I know how to treat somebody. I know how to, you know, like plan an occasion or plan a date. So there may even be something like unique or fun, or something that's like an interesting first date that they're trying to plan for the two of you, or, you know, like they'll ask you to accompany them to. Yeah, we've also got the Ten of Pentacles. So this is somebody that has been building up this courage for quite some time. They have gone through the pros and cons of, should I wait a little bit longer? You know, is the timing right? This is somebody, it feels like, who has been on the brink of approaching you at least once before, and then they kind of backed away. Something made them second guess at the last minute. It could have been something where they were like, okay, I'm going to say something. Wait, I don't know if she has a boyfriend. Wait, I don't know if she's even like looking to date. Okay, hold on. I need to just kind of retreat and go back to the drawing board. Something simple like that, where this person has looked at moving forward towards you from all different angles. So yeah, there's, sexual attraction here. Yeah, they want to get closer to you, but this is also someone who, maybe is just very logical in general. They've tried to take sort of a logical approach to this. They have mapped out a plan of action that has involved coaxing themselves beyond this just like secret admirer, observing from afar, the thick chemistry between the two of you in the crowded room, and trying to kind of ignore that or pretend it doesn't exist. Like, they've gone through the motions of all of that. So that's kind of why this tower energy was coming out sort of right at the start of this channeling. It's this sense of this person that's like, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to have a plan of action in case it takes some time, to get this person, to get you, the viewer, to like let your guard down, or, maybe you're busy. Maybe I ask you out and you're busy. And so I can't just kind of fumble the situation and then that's it. I can't just sort of take that as a rejection or take that as a defeat, and miss my chance. So it feels like they've got several different options planned. It's kind of like, oh, you're busy that day? Well, what about this other thing? This is somebody that it feels like for a lot of you, this is something where you're going to be very pleased that it's somebody that is not coming in and making you chase them. This is somebody that feels like it's the right move for them to sort of take the lead, to be in the pursuer energy. Like, they don't want to chase you. They don't want to come on too strong. They definitely want to respect if you're like, no, I'm not interested. I'm not like looking for anything. This isn't going to be somebody that's just going to like pester you and, keep after you in that sense. But there's also this energy of, again, maybe sort of the circumstances through which they're, having these interactions with you, or the venue through which they're trying to like come towards you, especially if it's like an online connection. This is somebody that's like, okay, you're not just going to open up to me right away. So I need to be persistent. I need to make sure that I'm not getting discouraged. I need to make sure that I can continue to show up in a way that, you see that, hey, I'm worth your while to give a chance. Or if it's somebody, in kind of like your physical reality, somebody in your day-to-day reality, someone in your community or like a social group, that idea of sort of stepping beyond that threshold, like acknowledging that chemistry that's been there between the two of you for quite some time and taking a step beyond that, that's something where this person is almost like, I can't just sort of, assume that we're on the same page as that. I acknowledge the chemistry, but I can't assume that this person does as well, and that they're wanting to sort of move in the same direction as I am, or at the same pace that I am. So it feels like they've come up with several contingency plans depending on what you say, how you respond, how this kind of like next step goes between the two of you in terms of like steps beyond that they take. Yeah, we've also got the Four of Cups. So it feels like this person fears rejection from you, because they've almost like built this up to be a bigger deal than it needs to be. And it feels like something where there's a part of them that it's almost like they're more comfortable taking a casual approach to things. There's a relaxed part of their personality that they've kind of like shut in the closet for this kind of crucial first step, this crucial introduction, where the side of them that you're going to see, it's almost like it's very bright, like sunlight, that is the energy that they're kind of coming through with. And as you start to get to know them, maybe after that first date where this person's going to be like really nervous, really flustered, really chatty, really even just kind of like amped up because they're like, woo, they said yes, great, okay, let's see where this goes. Like, you're gonna experience that this person's sort of like they're able to relax into this, like, okay, they still want to talk to me the next day, okay, we're still establishing this dialogue. And so it's like they come in with sort of this rush of energy towards you, and then they need to blow off that steam a little bit, kind of as they're having exchanges with you, as you're talking, as you're hanging out, as you're kind of exploring that, if you choose to say yes and sort of take this person up on the opportunity to get to know them, to hang out with them outside of the office, or go on a date with them. And it feels like this is going to be something that helps to really kind of de-escalate sort of the major wound or shadow at this point in time, which is a fear of rejection. So you saying yes to this person, it feels like it's going to be a huge weight off of their shoulder. And definitely the nature of the first date, it's not like they're going to totally switch up on you, but there's something where it's like they're putting their best foot forward, they're putting their best suit on, their best attire to kind of like come forth towards you. And as you start to, maybe spend a little more time with them, then it's like, okay, the way that they sort of naturally are, or that they regularly are, that is something that will surface as well once they kind of get those reassurances that, like, yeah, this plan that they've kind of concocted within, that they sort of mapped out, the steps forward and the contingency plans, as all of that kind of, moves forward in a very satisfying and progressive way, then there's a sense of like, okay, then you get to see kind of the real them. Then you get to see this other side of them, that's very complementary, it feels like, to what you're looking for. It's nothing unpleasant, but it's definitely, you're going to be able to look back at kind of this first step, that tower moment sort of emerging towards you, is like, yeah, this person was really nervous. This was very important to them. The way in which they came forward, the method of delivery, how this all played out. They put a lot of importance. They thought about this. It wasn't impulsive. This wasn't just like, okay, I see the shiny thing, let me go after it. This is somebody that's like, no, they've invested a lot of time sort of thinking about this, planning it, mapping it out. Yeah, we got the Empress. So they think you are wonderful. They think you are very sexy, very appealing, very smart, very, very put together. This is somebody that is like, I would love the idea of being your plus one. I would love the experience of being the person that you walk hand in hand with through however long in your life you want to have me there. This is somebody that almost feels like they would turn to putty in your hands. This is like, they may have you up on a pedestal a little bit, again, because it's just like they've been prolonging this kind of like step forward, this kind of stepping out of the shadows. Or if it's a friendship, sort of expressing like, hey, I've got a crush on you, hey, I've got more than just friendly feelings. Like, they've been sitting with that for so long that even though there's like pressure, tension between the two of you, it feels like a lot of that it exists more within themselves. And so just as there's that energy of kind of like, they relax, they sort of ease into the experience with you, it feels like it's something that they'll start to kind of get a more grounded perspective about you. Yeah, there'll be admiration, but they'll also see you on that human level and kind of like, okay, these are the ways in which our energies really meld well together. These are the ways in which we are opposites, and let's just kind of see how we can work with that. We also have the Six of Pentacles. So again, this is the energy of somebody that wants to be very generous with kind of the space of time that they give between that first conversation, that first sort of suggestion of, something beyond kind of the experience you've had with one another at this point. Or if this is somebody like hasn't talked to you at all, this is somebody that's just kind of like approaching out of nowhere, there's a sense of like a grace period, getting to know one another. This is going to be somebody that puts forth a lot of action. This is going to be somebody that wants to help you to understand, like, they're not just sort of like, okay, what would it be like to have a great night with you and then I'm sort of off on my way again. This is not somebody that's coming in with sort of like, I want to sample the goods, or sort of, see what it would be like to have an experience more sort of intimate, more personal, more romantic with you. And then they're going to be inclined to ghost, or, to pull back very abruptly. This is somebody that may, be even a little more generous in terms of, the thought that they have put into time and occasion to spend with you, a date that they may want to ask you out on. It may start off as like a very different experience than what you've had up to this point. If you've dealt with nonchalant people or people who were just kind of lazy as far as romance was concerned, they weren't very creative, and it was kind of just like, hey, I'm showing up and that's it. Like, I'm the prize and there's nothing more, for me to sort of put into the situation. This is something that it feels like is very different. This is somebody that is kind of like, yeah, we can take it slow if you want. We can take it fast. I'm happy you're talking to me. I'm happy that, you're giving me the time of day. I'm happy that I was able to sort of follow that kind of push for myself and step beyond that boundary of just watching, of just like yearning for you, of just sitting here and be like, oh, this person, I gotta come in closer. Like, they're really celebrating themselves. It feels like, congratulating themselves for that act of bravery to reach out to you. And that's going to reflect in sort of like how they're showing up, with you in terms of like that first date, sort of the introductory period of exploring things. things, you know, a little more outside of the box from what you've had up to this point in time. So this is somebody that, you know, they want to wine and dine you. They're prepared to spend money, you know, on the date. This is not something where they're just like, hey, let's just go for a walk around the block. You know, if you do that, then it's like, hey, let's go for a walk around the block. Why don't we stop in and get a coffee and continue our walk? I'll pay for it. You know, something like that, where it's just like they don't want you to feel any kind of pressure. They don't want you to feel any kind of burden. There's a sense of like, let me sort of use this opportunity to kind of blow off all that steam, all that pressure that has kind of been building up behind the scenes as I've had my eye on you, as I've been like fantasizing about this. I've been, you know, very curious. This is not somebody that just, if it's like an online connection, if like that's how they're approaching you first, this isn't somebody that just sort of like came across your profile and then a couple hours later like, okay, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna send that message. This is somebody that has been like lurking for a while. They've been watching for a while. They've been kind of tiptoeing around that essence of like, oh, should I say something? What should I say? How do I make sure that I'm not just sort of shuffled out of the equation very quickly? Like I want to make sure that it's something meaningful, that it's something that feels right for me, feels right for this other person, and that it opens the door to the greatest likelihood of positive movement forward in a longer term sense. Yeah, and we also have the Six of Wands, so it feels like this person, and it's like I'm hearing proud as a peacock. So it feels like this person, when you go out with them, like if this is something where they're asking you to go out, like on a romantic date, you're gonna notice this person's energy. They're just gonna like, they're gonna be standing up really tall. They're gonna be so proud to be like out with you, and not just because they're out with you, but it's like they're doing a little happy dance inside. Like, yes, I did it. I didn't let my nervousness get the best of me. I didn't let kind of the fear of rejection sort of overwhelm me and hold me back. Yes, this person said yes. And so it feels like it's something that is going to be a very palpable amount of like joy and excitement. This isn't going to be something where this person asks you out and then it's just like silent, or, you know, they may kind of like fill the space with a lot of nervous chatter, but it's a sense of like checking in with you though, like saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. Look at me, I'm going off on a tangent. You know, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your day. What do you think of this or that? Like wanting to make you feel very included in this experience, but definitely somebody that is going to be like, they're going to be on cloud nine, it feels like, for days or even like a week, weeks after this experience, or, you know, the beginning of like a series of experiences between the two of you that can lead to something more. Again, because they've like built this up in their mind to be something like bigger than it needs, like a bigger deal than it needs to be, that kind of like first step forward. But then there's also a sense of like, they're really attracted to you, like mind, body, and soul. They feel the vibe, they feel the connection, they feel this essence of like, ooh, this is calling me in this direction. I'm gonna be brave, I'm gonna put myself out there. And so, you know, it's an accomplishment for this person. It feels like if you're open to this, if you're receptive to this, if you take them up on that offer, if you start having conversation with them, you're really going to be the highlight of this person's day, or, you know, this point in their life. For some of you, this is the highlight of my life in general. And that's going to be very reflective in how they show up for you in the moment, and also in terms of that idea of like making sure that it's not just kind of like a good experience like one time and then they just sort of fall off, or, you know, lack of effort kind of takes over. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.